Welcome to the Discourse Analyzer AI Toolkit, where articles come alive. You're listening to the audio version of our article. For the full text and an interactive experience, check out the link in the description below. Interact with any selection using our AI assistant to enhance your understanding. Let's explore.
Disability Discourse Analysis Theoretical Frameworks. Disability discourse analysis is enriched by theoretical frameworks such as Social Constructionism, Foucauldian Analysis, and Narrative Analysis, each offering distinct lenses through which to understand and interpret the complex ways disability is conceptualized and experienced in society. These frameworks help illuminate the various dimensions of disability discourse, revealing how power dynamics, societal constructs, and personal narratives shape the lives of individuals with disabilities. By applying these theories, scholars and practitioners can more effectively challenge existing stereotypes and advocate for changes that enhance societal inclusion and equality for people with disabilities. 1. Social Constructionism. Disability discourse analysis often employs social constructionism as a theoretical framework to understand how disability is constructed through discourse. This approach is grounded in the idea that disability is not an inherent attribute of individuals but is created and defined through social interactions and cultural contexts. By examining how language, media, policies, and social practices shape our understanding of disability, social constructionism helps reveal the ways in which these social constructs influence the lives of individuals with disabilities. 1. Core principles of social constructionism in disability discourse analysis. Disability as a social construct. According to social constructionism, disability is a category that is culturally and historically specific, and its meaning varies across different societies and over time. This framework posits that disability is not merely a biological fact but is constructed through social norms and discourses that define what is considered normal and abnormal. The role of language. Language is a powerful tool in the construction of social reality. Social constructionism emphasizes how language shapes our perceptions and ideologies about disability. Through language, certain bodies and abilities are labeled as disabled, which can influence how people view themselves and are treated by others. Power and knowledge. This theoretical approach also considers the relationship between power and knowledge. Institutions that hold power, such as the medical community, media, and government, play a significant role in constructing knowledge about disability. For example, medical discourse often frames disability as a problem to be cured or managed, influencing public perceptions and policies. 2. Analyzing disability construction through social constructionism. Media analysis. Examining how disability is portrayed in films, TV shows, news media, and advertising reveals how media constructs disability. These portrayals can perpetuate stereotypes or challenge existing narratives by offering more complex and empowering representations of people with disabilities. Policy discourse. Policies on disability reflect and shape how society understands and manages disability. Social constructionism can be used to analyze the language of disability policies to uncover underlying assumptions about independence, productivity, and care. Interpersonal communication. Everyday interactions and language use around disability contribute to its social construction. Analyzing conversations, language use in professional settings, and even informal social interactions helps understand how societal attitudes and norms about disability are reinforced or contested in daily life. Comparative cultural studies. Since social constructionism posits that constructs of disability vary by culture, comparing how different societies understand and treat disability can provide insights into the diverse ways disability can be constructed and understood globally. 3. Implications for disability studies. Using social constructionism in disability discourse analysis has several implications. Challenging established norms. By understanding disability as a social construct, this approach challenges the naturalized views of disability as merely a medical or biological issue. It opens up possibilities for rethinking disability in terms of social change and rights-based perspectives. Empowerment and advocacy. This framework can empower people with disabilities by validating their experiences and highlighting the role of societal structures in creating disabling barriers. It supports advocacy efforts aimed at dismantling these barriers and promoting inclusion. Enhancing inclusivity in research. Social constructionism encourages inclusivity in research by emphasizing the importance of multiple perspectives, especially those of disabled individuals, in understanding and describing disability. Social constructionism offers a robust framework for analyzing how disability is constructed through discourse. It provides a critical lens through which to view the interactions between language, power, and social norms, enabling a deeper understanding of the complexities surrounding the concept of disability. This approach not only illuminates the arbitrary and fluid nature of what constitutes disability but also advocates for a more inclusive and equitable treatment of all individuals in society. 2. Foucauldian Analysis. Foucauldian analysis, drawing from the theories of Michel Foucault, is particularly suited to exploring how power relations and knowledge production shape discourses of disability. Foucault's work focuses on how knowledge and power are intertwined and how they contribute to the formation of discourses that, in turn, influence social practices, beliefs, and institutions. Applying Foucauldian analysis to disability discourse provides insights into the ways that power dynamics create and maintain particular understandings of disability, influencing everything from individual identities to policy decisions. 1. Key Foucauldian concepts relevant to disability studies. Discourse and power. Foucault argues that discourse is not merely a way of representing knowledge but is a means of exercising power. Different discourses, medical, legal, educational, compete and function within a network of power relations that determine which discourses become dominant and how they influence societal structures. Knowledge production. Knowledge about disability is not neutral but is produced within specific historical and cultural contexts that reflect and reinforce power structures. Foucault's concept of the regime of truth suggests that what is accepted as truth in society is a result of these power dynamics. In the context of disability, this might relate to the dominance of medical models that define what is normal and abnormal. Biopower and governmentality. Foucault's notions of biopower and governmentality examine how states regulate populations through an explosion of numerous and diverse techniques for achieving the subjugations of bodies and the control of populations. In disability studies, this can be linked to how bodies are categorized, surveilled, and controlled through various institutions, such as healthcare systems and welfare policies. 2. Applying Foucauldian analysis to disability discourse. Medicalization of disability. Using a Foucauldian lens, one can analyze how the medical discourse on disability not only categorizes and diagnoses disability but also controls and defines what is considered a normal or healthy body. This power to define and treat is a form of social control that perpetuates certain ideologies about health, capability, and value. Surveillance and normalization. Institutions that provide care and support for people with disabilities also engage in practices of surveillance, monitoring, recording, and regulating their behavior. Foucauldian analysis can reveal how these practices serve to normalize certain behaviors and marginalize others, enforcing conformity to social norms. Resistance and agency. Foucault also discusses the potential for resistance within power relations. In the context of disability, this can be seen in how individuals and advocacy groups resist and redefine the terms and conditions of their existence, challenging dominant discourses and practices that marginalize them. Policy and legislation. Foucauldian analysis can be employed to examine disability policies and legislation to understand how these legal texts serve as mechanisms of control that define eligibility, access to services, and rights. This reveals the power structures embedded within these documents and how they impact the lives of people with disabilities. 3. Implications for disability discourse analysis. Foucauldian analysis enriches our understanding of disability by highlighting how power is exercised through language, institutions, and practices that shape perceptions and experiences of disability. By focusing on the mechanisms of power and resistance, this approach offers a deeper look at the complexities of empowerment and subjugation within the field of disability studies. It underscores the importance of questioning and critically examining the sources and structures of authority that define disability, advocating for more inclusive and equitable approaches to understanding and addressing the needs of disabled individuals. 3. Narrative analysis. Narrative analysis in disability discourse analysis focuses on exploring personal and collective stories to understand how individuals and groups construct and communicate their experiences of disability. This approach emphasizes the power of narratives to shape identities, influence perceptions, and mobilize social change. By examining the stories told by and about people with disabilities, narrative analysis reveals the complex ways in which disability is experienced, understood, and represented within various cultural and social contexts. 1. Key concepts in narrative analysis of disability. Construction of identities. Narratives are central to the construction of identity. For individuals with disabilities, personal narratives provide a means to articulate their experiences, challenge prevailing stereotypes, and assert their agency. These stories can counteract dominant medical or pity-oriented narratives that often define disability solely in terms of deficiency or tragedy. Cultural and social contexts. Narratives are embedded within specific cultural and social contexts that influence how disability is perceived and expressed. Narrative analysis examines these contexts to understand how societal norms, cultural values, and historical factors shape the storytelling of disability. This helps to highlight variations in disability experiences across different societies and communities. Empowerment through storytelling. Sharing personal stories can be an empowering act for people with disabilities. Narratives can serve as a form of resistance against marginalization and as a tool for advocacy. By telling their stories, individuals with disabilities can challenge discriminatory practices, influence policy, and reshape public perceptions. Collective narratives. Beyond individual stories, collective narratives about disability play a crucial role in forming group identities and promoting solidarity among people with disabilities. These narratives can help to foster a sense of community and shared purpose, driving social and political movements that advocate for rights and inclusion. 2. Methodological approaches in narrative analysis. Structural analysis examines the structure of narratives to understand how stories are organized and the common themes that emerge. This includes looking at narrative elements like plots, characters, and settings to see how they contribute to the representation of disability. Thematic analysis focuses on identifying and interpreting the themes within disability narratives. This approach looks for recurring patterns or motifs that reveal underlying beliefs, values, or conflicts related to disability. Performance analysis considers the performative aspects of narrative, examining how narratives are presented and the role of the audience. This includes how narratives are told in different settings, such as in media, public speeches, or personal conversations, and how these contexts influence the reception and impact of the stories. 3. Applications and implications. Policy and advocacy. Narrative analysis can inform policymakers and advocates by providing deeper insights into the lived experiences of people with disabilities. These narratives can highlight areas where policy interventions are needed and guide the development of programs that are more responsive to the needs of disabled individuals. Education and training. Incorporating narrative analysis in educational settings can help to humanize disability studies, moving beyond abstract concepts to engage with real-life experiences. This can enhance empathy and understanding among students, professionals, and the general public. Media representation. Analyzing narratives in media allows for a critique of how disability is portrayed and the impact of these portrayals on public attitudes. It can also guide media producers in creating more accurate and diverse representations of disability. Narrative analysis provides a powerful lens for understanding the diverse and dynamic ways in which disability is experienced and articulated. By focusing on personal and collective stories, this approach offers valuable insights into the intersection of individual lives with broader social and cultural dynamics. Narrative analysis not only contributes to academic knowledge but also supports practical interventions aimed at improving the lives of people with disabilities and promoting a more inclusive society. 4. Intersectional analysis. Intersectional analysis in disability discourse analysis offers a comprehensive approach to understanding how various identities, such as race, gender, class, and sexuality, intersect with disability to create unique experiences and challenges. Developed from Kimberlé Crenshaw's foundational work on intersectionality, This framework examines how overlapping systems of oppression and discrimination affect those who possess multiple marginalized identities, including those with disabilities. By adopting this perspective, researchers can uncover the multifaceted nature of discrimination and privilege, providing a deeper insight into the complex social dynamics that shape individuals' lives. 1. Key concepts in intersectional analysis of disability. Multiplicity of identities. Intersectionality emphasizes that individuals possess multiple identities that cannot be examined in isolation from one another. For people with disabilities, this means considering how their experiences of disability are shaped not only by their disability but also by their race, gender, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, and other social categories. Overlapping oppressions. Intersectional analysis seeks to understand how different forms of discrimination and oppression overlap and interact. For example, a Black woman with a disability might face discrimination that is not only about her disability but also intersects with racism and sexism. This overlapping can intensify her experiences of exclusion and inequality. Visibility and invisibility. Intersectionality also deals with issues of visibility and invisibility in social discourses and policies. Some groups may be more visible or receive more attention in disability advocacy and research, while others might be overlooked. This can lead to policies and practices that fail to address the specific needs of the most marginalized within disabled communities. Structural and systemic barriers. This framework considers how structures and systems, such as healthcare, education, and employment, are designed and how they may inherently disadvantage certain groups. Intersectional analysis looks at how these systems accommodate or fail to accommodate people with intersecting identities, affecting their access to resources, rights, and opportunities. 2. Methodological approaches in intersectional analysis. Qualitative research. In-depth interviews, ethnographies, and case studies are commonly used to capture the nuanced experiences of individuals at the intersection of disability and other identities. These methods allow participants to describe their own experiences and perspectives, providing rich data on the complexities of intersectionality. Quantitative research. Surveys and statistical analyses can be employed to identify patterns and trends at the intersection of disability and other identities. This can help in understanding the scale of issues faced by different groups within disabled communities. Policy analysis. Examining policies through an intersectional lens to see how they address or fail to address the needs of diverse groups within the disabled population. This includes analyzing the language and provisions of disability-related legislation and its impact on various subgroups. 3. Applications and implications. Advocacy and policymaking. Intersectional analysis can inform more inclusive and effective advocacy strategies and policies. By understanding the specific barriers faced by individuals with intersecting identities, advocates and policymakers can work towards removing these barriers and promoting equity. Service provision. In areas such as healthcare, education, and social services, an intersectional approach can guide the development of programs that better meet the diverse needs of disabled individuals. This ensures that services are sensitive to the complexities of identity and the different ways people experience disability. Community building and solidarity. Recognizing intersectionality can foster greater solidarity and understanding within disability movements and beyond. It encourages support across different communities and enhances collective efforts to address inequality. Intersectional analysis enriches disability discourse analysis by providing a framework that acknowledges the complexities of identity and oppression. It challenges the simplistic understandings of disability and promotes a more nuanced view of how multiple forms of discrimination intersect, leading to more tailored and just responses in research, policy, and practice. This approach not only deepens our understanding of the lived experiences of disabled individuals but also highlights the need for more inclusive and intersectionally aware approaches in addressing the challenges they face. 5. Historical discourse analysis. Historical discourse analysis in disability studies investigates the evolution of discourses surrounding disability throughout history, tracing how these changes affect current perceptions and treatments of disabled individuals. By examining the ways in which disability has been talked about, understood, and managed across different historical epochs, this approach provides insights into the shifting social, cultural, and political contexts that shape disability discourse. This type of analysis helps to reveal the roots of contemporary attitudes and practices, and it can challenge or reinforce the prevailing narratives about disability. 1. Key concepts in historical discourse analysis of disability. Temporal contexts. Historical discourse analysis recognizes that the ways in which disability is conceptualized and addressed are deeply influenced by the specific time periods in which these ideas and practices emerge. It explores how historical events, medical advancements, and social movements have influenced disability discourses. Evolution of language and terminology. The terms used to describe disability and people with disabilities have evolved significantly. Historical analysis looks at how these terms reflect broader societal attitudes and how shifts in language correspond with shifts in the understanding of disability as a social and medical construct. Institutional and policy changes. Over time, the management and treatment of disability have been shaped by various institutional practices and policies. Historical discourse analysis investigates how these policies have been influenced by and have influenced societal perceptions of disability, from the era of institutionalization to contemporary movements for deinstitutionalization and inclusion. Social constructs and ideologies. This approach examines how dominant ideologies, such as eugenics, normalization, and inclusion, have framed disability, and how these frames have changed in response to broader ideological shifts within society. It considers how these ideologies have impacted the lives of disabled individuals and their communities. 2. Methodological approaches in historical discourse analysis. Document analysis involves the examination of historical documents, such as medical texts, policy documents, personal diaries, media articles, and public health records, to understand how discourses on disability have been constructed and have evolved. Comparative analysis compares discourses from different periods to highlight changes and continuities in the ways that disability is understood and treated. This can involve comparing different cultural or national contexts to understand diverse historical trajectories. Critical interpretation applies a critical lens to historical texts and practices to uncover underlying power dynamics, biases, and assumptions that have shaped disability discourses and practices. 3. Applications and implications. Informing contemporary debates. Understanding the historical roots of current disability policies and practices can inform debates about how to address contemporary issues. Historical insights can reveal the origins of persistent stereotypes and systemic barriers, helping to challenge and change them. Education and advocacy. Historical discourse analysis can be used in educational settings to teach about the evolution of social attitudes toward disability, promoting a deeper understanding and appreciation of the struggles and achievements of the disability rights movement. Policy development. By recognizing the historical context of disability policies, lawmakers and advocates can develop more informed and effective policies that avoid repeating past mistakes and better address the needs of disabled individuals today. Historical discourse analysis provides a powerful tool for understanding the complex ways in which discourses around disability have evolved and continue to influence societal perceptions and treatments of disabled people. By tracing these historical shifts, scholars and advocates can better understand the present and envision more inclusive and equitable futures for individuals with disabilities. This approach not only adds depth to our understanding of disability but also empowers ongoing efforts to challenge discriminatory practices and promote disability justice. Conclusion. Theoretical frameworks like social constructionism, Foucauldian analysis, and narrative analysis are indispensable in disability discourse analysis for their profound ability to uncover the layers of meaning and power embedded in discourses of disability. Social constructionism dismantles the notion of disability as a fixed identity, highlighting its fluidity across cultures and contexts. Foucauldian analysis exposes the power structures that define and often limit the lives of those with disabilities through institutional practices and knowledge production. Meanwhile, narrative analysis emphasizes the transformative power of personal and collective stories in shaping perceptions and advocating for social change. Together, these frameworks not only deepen our understanding of disability but also foster a more inclusive discourse that recognizes the full humanity and potential of all individuals, regardless of their physical or cognitive conditions. Frequently asked questions. What is social constructionism in disability discourse analysis? Social constructionism is a theoretical framework in disability discourse analysis that posits disability is not an inherent attribute but is constructed through social interactions, language, and cultural contexts. It examines how societal constructs around disability are formed, maintained, and can be dismantled. How does social constructionism affect the understanding of disability? Social constructionism affects the understanding of disability by challenging the notion that disabilities are solely biological or medical conditions. Instead, it explores how societal norms and discourses shape what is considered a disability, influencing policies, personal identities, and social treatments of disabled individuals. What is the significance of analyzing power and knowledge in disability studies? Analyzing power and knowledge reveals how institutions with authority, like the medical sector or media, construct and disseminate knowledge about disability that influences societal attitudes and policies. This analysis helps identify biases in how disability is perceived and addressed, contributing to either the reinforcement or dismantling of barriers faced by people with disabilities. How does Foucauldian analysis apply to disability discourse analysis? Foucauldian analysis applies to disability discourse analysis by exploring how power relations affect the production of knowledge about disability. It examines how discourses, especially from dominant institutions, shape understandings of disability, enforce norms, and manage individuals' lives through practices like medicalization and surveillance. What are the core concepts of Foucauldian analysis relevant to disability studies? Core concepts include discourse and power, where language is seen as a power exercise, and biopower and governmentality, which refer to how the state regulates bodies and populations, often manifesting in how disabilities are categorized and treated. What methodological approaches are used in narrative analysis of disability? Narrative analysis employs methods like structural analysis to examine how stories are constructed, thematic analysis to identify recurring themes within narratives, and performance analysis to look at how narratives are presented and perceived in different contexts. How do narratives influence disability policy and advocacy? Narratives can significantly influence disability policy and advocacy by providing personal insights into the experiences of people with disabilities, highlighting the impacts of existing policies, and guiding the creation of more effective and inclusive measures. Personal stories can humanize policy discussions, making the needs and rights of disabled individuals more visible and urgent. Why is it important to analyze media representations of disability? Analyzing media representations is important because the media shapes public perceptions of disability. Media analysis can reveal stereotypes and biases that influence societal attitudes and can either challenge or reinforce discriminatory views and practices. What role does ableism in language play in disability discourse analysis? Ableism in language involves the ways language use can perpetuate discrimination against people with disabilities. Analyzing ableistic language helps identify and challenge the linguistic patterns that marginalize or devalue individuals based on their abilities, fostering a more inclusive and respectful communicative environment. How does the narrative approach enhance understanding in disability studies? The narrative approach enhances understanding by emphasizing the power of personal and collective stories in shaping identities and societal perceptions. It allows for a deeper exploration of the lived experiences of disabled individuals, challenging dominant narratives and promoting a more nuanced understanding of disability as diverse and multifaceted.